Some of you guys know me. I'm Noah. I met Richie at Ivy Tech back in 2020. First time I met him, it was on a Zoom call, because, you know, COVID. And he and I had both logged on there a little early. I don't think he knew his camera was on, or he was doing whatever Richie does when he doesn't think anybody's watching. I thought he was a pretty weird guy. But as that class went on, it was our first one. The instructor told us if we wanted to make it through, we needed to have a goal. And he went around asking us what our goal was with this degree, with what the jobs we were going to get. And most of us, you know, we're all young guys, so we can have cool trucks. A couple of us maybe raise a family, but Richie was different from the rest of us. He said, I want to make as much money as I can, and then I want to try and retire my parents early because they've sacrificed so much for me and my siblings. And he didn't get to do that, but I know that was still something he wanted. He mentioned it fairly regularly. And when he said that, I thought, well, he's weird, but he's a good guy, so I'll talk to him. And once we started having in-person classes, he and another friend of his, David Byer, the three of us just kind of got lumped together one day, and we worked together on everything. And when David passed, it was rough on all of us. Richie took it harder than I did. He knew him better. And I told him, I said, if you ever need to talk, I'm here. And I know David asked you a couple times if you ever wanted to go to church with him. I said, I'll extend the same to you. I'd love to see you. And a few months later, around Mother's Day, he did. And in the first or second time he came here, he beat me here. And as soon as Pastor opened up the doors, he walked in with an armful of roses and handed a rose to every mom in the church, people he'd never met. And, you know, that was just Richie. He just gave people stuff without them even asking, stuff they didn't know they needed. And he attended for a while, off and on, fairly regularly. Wasn't really sure. And then one day, Pastor gave an altar call and said, if anybody's not sure if they're saved, you can raise your hand and we'll talk to you. And Richie raised his hand, and he went back and talked with some of the deacons. And when he came out, I hugged him and I said, you're not just my friend now, you're my brother. And it was like I flipped a light switch. He lived with us, pretty much. He was either with his parents, at work, or with us. And, I mean, it was every birthday party, every family event, every church event. It was everything. And he really was my brother. And I miss him like a brother. And I know I'll never not miss him. But I know that I'll see him again, and that helps. And like Pastor said, I know he's up there. If there's a truck in heaven, he's doing burnouts with it, and if there's not, he's begging God to bring one up. And yeah, that's really all I've got to say, but thank you.
I don't know, should I talk to this one? Which was the tall one? First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming out here. I think I sat at my computer for days on end trying to write something. I got it in here now, and it's in there forever now. What I've learned from Richie, my son, he expected a piece of himself from you guys. And in return, he gave you more. Anytime you needed something, he was there. His mom, he would always tell her, "You'll be okay, Mom." Even in the toughest times. He loved this church. He loved the people. Noah's family. He wasn't sure about Noah's mom at first. He said, "I think she hates me." And I said, "Be you. Be you and she will love you." And then that's all I heard. And then I heard everything about Noah and his family and his brother. And I got to see some crazy videos of him doing burnouts and showing me clutch plates that are burned to a core. And he said, "You can help me." And I was like, no, I'm mechanically not inclined. And he said, "No, YouTube will help you, Dad. Don't worry about that." I wanted to do so much more with my son. I took him to San Francisco and we all froze our butts off. It was hot on one side and not on the other. Spent many a times going to different places, taking him to show that there was other places besides just Shelbyville. Spending time with him was funny. His mom says we're two peas in a pod. We still are. I'm just missing my pea. The Scott's family, I thank you so much for giving that love to him. To Uncle Ju, the badass grandpa. Because that was his words. I'm sure he put it in a nicer way. That's the way my son talked to me. I can honestly tell you that I know he's a good man. He was a good boy. He gave to everybody and didn't expect anything back in return. I will miss him, but I will see him again. Thank you.
I've been called worse. Anybody else like to make a tribute?
Fiercely loyal, painfully honest, and generous to a fault. These are some phrases I would use to describe Richie, or Richie Ricciardo, as I liked to call him every now and then. He had one of the biggest hearts. The first time I met Richie, we spent the afternoon at John and Rachel's. He was so easy to talk to and connect with. One of my hobbies is... Ooh, my phone went wonky. One of my hobbies is crocheting, and by the end of the day, he had ordered 8 crochet products from me. He was so confident in my creative abilities and wanted to give a bunch of his people special handmade gifts. Richie was always one to jump in with both feet, whether it was buying gifts, buying vehicles, working on trucks, or being a good friend. He was a full send kind of guy and would do just about anything to get to spend time with the people he cared about. Whether it was trying a new video game, helping with grueling truck projects, driving through mud pits, or helping me pull old flooring out of my house. Man, oh man, he was literally dripping sweat that day. He worked so hard. He was a hard worker. Richie loves kids and couldn't wait for me and Noah to start a family one day. Every time I'd mention that I was extra tired or had a headache or was nauseous or bloated, he'd ask, "Are you pregnant?" To which I would shake my head and roll my eyes and say, "No, Richie, I'm not pregnant." Not many people could get away with asking me that regularly, but Richie could. I've had a hard time making friends and keeping up with girlfriends after high school. I was really tired of getting stood up and left on red, but Richie, being the amazing dude he was, would often say, "I'll be your girlfriend." To which I would again roll my eyes and shake my head and say, "No thanks, Richie. It's not quite the same, especially with how close you are with Noah." Then he'd say something like, "I can put a wig on and a dress and makeup and totally shove some balloons up there, and I can be one of your girlfriends." How very Richie. In the end, I did let him into some of my drama, and we talked for over an hour and a half on the phone after he spent over an hour talking to Noah, helping us through a misunderstanding. He was a great friend, and I was very grateful that he would often come to me asking for girl and life advice. I was the queen of unsolicited advice, and I'm grateful he put up with me, despite my fire hose of financial advice and my constant head shakes and eye rolls when he'd share something that I thought was stupid. But without a doubt, he made us laugh, and he was one of the best possible friends. I am so grateful we got to have him in our lives, even as brief as it was. And I am beyond grateful that Noah shared the gospel with Richie, and that he accepted Christ as his Savior. I look forward to reuniting with this precious friend.
All right. Did we have anyone else? Okay.
I'm just gonna stand here.
Okay.
This is from Sadie. She wanted me to, we wrote this together.
Okay.
Richie and I like playing Xbox together. He would do dares of any kind. He was super funny. He made me feel happy, fun, and crazy. Whatever I would give him, he would eat. I don't understand that one, but she does. He was super fun. I'm going to miss him.
All right. Do we have anyone else with a tribute? We'll get you right after.
I'm Dakota. I'm Noah's brother. Me, Richie, and Noah were the three amigos. When I first met Richie, to be honest, I thought he was really weird. And then the second time I met him, he jumped railroad tracks at 115 miles an hour, and we clicked. And we were best friends ever since then. That was one of the funniest things I think I've ever seen in my life. I mean, nobody would get in the car with him, but then him just with his, I mean, I could give you endless stories of times I thought I was gonna die in the car with him, but it was just, I mean, it's just how he was. He was a full send or no send kind of guy. Like, he either sent it to the moon or he didn't do it. There was like no in between at all. And the one thing that really sticks out to me of the kind of person Richie was I lost one of we weren't super close, but we were pretty good friends last year. And before I even got home from his funeral, Richie was at our house and had all my best friends at our house. We had food. It just really went to show how good of a friend he was. And then after that, I had surgery on my left hip, and I was on crutches. I was on crutches for about 4 months before the surgery, and then for a little bit after. And I was used to being super active and playing football and working on my trucks, and then I just couldn't do any of that, and I was bored. I played a lot of Xbox, and I think probably 90% of the days where I sat at home playing Xbox, Richie just spawned in, and he just showed up, and we just played Xbox for like 14 hours a day. And then he would go to work, and he'd come back. He didn't shower. He didn't eat except at our house. He would just, like, I think I forced him to go home and shower and change a couple times, because, I mean, for those of you that know, you know what I mean. But was just so caring about everyone that he knew. Didn't matter even if he just barely knew him. He just, like, if he needed something, he was there. Just he helped me pull the transmission out of my truck. That wasn't super fun, but I mean, it was just some memories I'll never forget with him. And it's just, I mean, there's a lot to miss with him, but I have a lot of peace knowing that I'll see him again and that he's in a better place. And I agree with whichever one of you guys said it, that he is probably begging God to let him bring a truck up there to do burnouts and donuts. And just, that's all I have to say. It's just, it was an honor to know Richie through his life.